Hola, hello, and welcome to my video discussion for our EDEL 514 class. I'll start talking about of one of the videos that we watched for this week's discussion. So the first video was on early language with Susanna and Linda. I found very interesting the two stories that they shared about their own children, and their story is very similar to my story as well. One of the things that they said is that spoken language has a very strong connection with literacy, and I completely agree with that. Second language learning is my passion, and because of that I'm going to share a personal story with you. So my personal story here. When I first moved from Brazil to Canada, that was back in 2004, my daughter only spoke Portuguese, but it didn't take long for her to become proficient in English. I believe that after 6 months in a small kindergarten class in London, Ontario, she was fluent in English. That didn't happen to me. As you can tell, I still have my accent and I still struggle a little bit with the English language. English is my third language actually, because Portuguese is my first and I speak Spanish as well. So I'm still struggle a little bit, so I hope you don't mind my accent. Anyway, we kept our Portuguese language at home though, but my daughter would understand everything that was said in Portuguese, but she only would answer us in English the whole time. That was fine with me and with my husband because we both spoke Portuguese and English, but in order to keep her engaged in conversations with my family in Brazil, my mom and my brother and my sister, we had to keep practicing the language with her. And we did. We did that for 17 years. Now she's fluent in both languages. But she has that gringo accent when she speaks Portuguese, which is funny sometimes, even though she doesn't think it's funny, but it's funny and it's cute too. The second video was on Patricia's call. She talked about the linguistic genius of babies, and I have a few notes here about her video. Her findings were amazing. When she talks about the listening skills that the babies have, and that's a skill that is naturally from the babies, that they have it, right? And for us, we still now as adults, we need to develop those skills, and that is incredible. Other thing that I think it's amazing is that our brains are incredible machines that can be programmed according to our needs. So we can kind of shape our brains the way we want if we start early, I guess, when we're babies. If we just knew all of that research, right, in the past, that would help. Bilinguals, one of the things that she said, but bilinguals, they keep two sets of statistics and they flip between them back and forth. And I can attest to that. As a bilingual Spanish teacher, we do that all the time. And we use a little bit of our neuro-linguistic approach to do that. And we do that. We switch back and forth. I really loved that graph on the critical period for language exhibit, and I'll show it to you if you don't remember what I'm talking about. Is this one here. The language exhibits, it shows a critical period, so starting there, right? So if you're very young, if you're a baby, you have great chances of learning a new language or your first language. So this is for an age of acquisition for a second language. But if you're here, chances are very low. And if you're past this, I think it's even lower than this. So we need to do all we can for our early learners now so they can learn a second language or even to become proficient in their first language. To continue here, this is my baby. I want to talk about my baby. So as I shared my personal story with you, this is my baby, Caroline. She was, in this picture, she was 5 years old, and she only spoke Portuguese until she was 5. Only Portuguese. She could not read in another language. But I have a picture of Caroline now here. And here's my baby again. So in this picture, she's getting ready for her high school graduation, which is going to be in 5 months. She is now bilingual. At age of 17, she speaks Portuguese fluently. She can read and write. Same thing in English. So I'm very proud of her. And this is her beautiful dress for her graduation. can't wait for that big day. The next slide, I'm talking about the interview that we listened to from Patricia's calls as well, and a few of her findings here. So the notes that I took, one of them, it talks about her research with babies. When the research that she's doing with the babies learning a language will help other children that are having problems acquiring a language. So her research is very important in this area. I don't think we have enough research in this area, so any research in this area is very appreciated. Her research will help also the adults that have language learning issues. Her research is showing how babies' brains, how they work when they're exposed to different languages and also to familiar languages. I really like that a video that she showed of a baby listening to different languages and also to his first language and the reactions, and you could see in the brain all the things that were appearing and all the dots that were getting connected, and we could see how the baby reacted to each language. That was very interesting. One of the fundamental aspects of human interactions, one of the things that is very important is the human interaction when we are learning a new language, and I know this is very important, and I can attest to that in my Spanish classes with my students, how they learn when we are interacting and talking about things that are from our daily experiences. The next one, I found this very, very interesting as well. This is from Deb Roy. The name of his TED Talk was The Birth of a Word. I loved his experiment with cameras. It was great. I wish I could do something like that at my house too. It seemed like a Big Brother show. It was a very interesting. And one thing that I thought that was amazing was the experience that you could do a research with your own child and learn how your own child is acquiring a new language, how the language is developing. So that was very interesting. It was very interesting to hear the evolution of his son's speech for the word water. That was amazing. One of the things that he said, that human interaction is again a fundamental part of language learning, and that was the same finding that Patricia Coles indicated in her research. I love the word that he created, wordscape, because he created a wordscape inside his house, searching for the words and trying to listen to all the words that his son was learning to say. So that was amazing. Environment and engagement, they also play important roles on the language acquisition process, and he showed that through other ways of communication. So that was very interesting. My conclusions, here. There are a few components that play crucial roles when a child is learning language. So social human interactions being the first, then the content where they are living in, the environment as well, the engagement that they have. They said that we need to connect the dots between our behavior and communication. And also from Dr. Andreas Meltzoff interviews, he said that play also in general, it's a very good activity for the brain development in general, not only when we are learning. So that was a very interesting finding as well. And here I have my references from where I collect all of this information and from where I took my notes. I hope you enjoy it and have a good day. Thank you. Bye. Muchas gracias.